This guy walks through a house, is professional, took his shoes off, talked to me, educated me through the process. Maybe I didn't agree with his value, but at least he took the time to help me understand what it was that I was buying as a client.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
When it comes to marketing and appraisers, there's an interesting phenomenon, and that is there's not a lot going on with appraisers, unfortunately, but we should be. And I want to talk to you today about two fundamental principles when it comes to marketing. I want to pause and, of course, remind you about three fundamental companies that can truly transform the way that you do business. One is Data Master, the ability to save 30 to 60 minutes per report. Of course, a la mode. You can find them at alamode.com or 800-ALA-MODE, also saving you time and energy in their time-saving tools when it comes to form filling. And of course, Working RE Magazine. Working RE is the opportunity for you to stay in connection with your career, with your profession. WorkingRE.com. Again, it's WorkingRE.com. If you've taken my workshops, we usually spend quite a bit of time on marketing. In fact, a lot of people that come to my workshops have a desire to do more of it. Now, I know what the problem is, and it's the same problem that I find myself falling into quite often. And that is we are in a very interesting and unique profession. This profession that, let's just be honest, work kind of comes to us. We don't really, if you're in the lending world, and especially if you're in the AMC world, there's just not a whole lot that has to happen. Now, I want to take you back. Many of you are old enough to remember life before AMCs. Now, AMCs go back a long time, to the 90s. But they didn't become real popular. They didn't start popping up all over the place, and we didn't see a lot of our work coming from AMCs until, well, after 2008, 2010, the HVCC, the Dodd-Frank bill. And there was, of course, some misinterpretation of that. There was also some lenders that were trying to err on the side of caution and would rather do the regulatory process. And let's just be honest, AMCs are not perfect. There are definitely problems with AMCs, but I think they sometimes get a bad rap as being a middleman that takes a big chunk of money and doesn't do a lot. But if you really talk to individuals, at least at the AMCs that are thriving, those that are doing well, there is a regulatory component that you can't ignore. And lenders pay for that. It's not just to separate the firewall, if you will. It's also to get that regulatory piece. Well, when it comes to appraisers, let's just be honest. Marketing to AMCs is not that difficult, right? You find out who they are. Typically, you can do that by finding out what lenders are in your area and then going in and talking to the loan officers and saying, hey, how do you order your appraisals? And if the answer is AMCs and this particular, follow up. The next question is which one? How do I get on their panel, right? And it's not that difficult typically. What's difficult is staying on a panel, meaning not that you're getting kicked off by the AMC, but wanting to be there, right? There are enough, let's just face it, crappy AMCs out there that you might try them for 3 months and say, you know what, no thanks. I can find better work. This is a Y client. I don't want to work for them anymore. But in order to get the client up front, most appraisers don't need to do much. Now, if you get on any appraisal-related social media these days, and let's just talk Facebook, for example, I find it very interesting as you watch the conversations that take place on Facebook. And I hate to just, drag us all out here into the limelight, but it's very interesting that nobody wants to admit that they work for AMCs. They just don't. They see the bad rap that AMCs get. They see the bad rap that appraisers that work for AMCs get. And so they're not very keen on admitting that they work for AMCs. And I see comments such as, I'm doing an appraisal right now for XYZ AMC. And then in parentheses, they'll say, don't worry, I don't usually work for them. This was just a one-off situation. I was doing them a favor. They're paying me a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. In other words, they have to justify their question, right? And then they ask the question. The AMC is asking for this, that, or the other, or I'm not getting paid, or, whatever the fill in the blank issue is, right? But the reason I bring this up is appraisers won't admit that they work for AMCs, but AMCs are sure doing a big business, right? Somebody's working for them. Okay, now I'll raise my hand. I work for AMCs. I'm very picky about the AMCs I work for. And by the way, the AMCs you've chosen sometimes not to work for, sometimes I choose to work for. I really do think that AMCs certainly have a corporate policy, a corporate atmosphere, but there's also local atmospheres as well. I know for a fact that there are at least 2 AMCs, big AMCs that I work for, get paid very good money, don't get harassed, get paid on time, okay, where I know other appraisers who, let's just face it, they don't have that same experience with that same AMC. But they might be in more urban areas, they might be in another part of the country, they might be dealing with a different individual, a director, if you will, of the work in their area that's going to be different than the one that I'm dealing with. And my point is this, don't just trust what other people are saying about AMCs and assume, okay, well, if they had a bad experience with XYZ AMC, then I am as well. I think experiences are unique to the individual. Your business model may fit. For example, one of the things that we pride ourselves on at Appraisal Precision is speed. Speed by not cutting quality. We can typically have an appraisal turned in 48 hours. If the stars align. Okay, and when I say stars align, I mean the borrowers align to let us in the property. But we have the system that works, the business model that works with. And so I see other appraisers complaining, well, this AMC wants this too fast. I can't believe they want this back in 3 days. And I'm thinking, okay, I mean, I could do that. And that's okay if you can't, right? But I'm saying the point that I'm trying to make is what works with one individual may not necessarily work with your business model, for example. Okay, so AMCs, not very difficult to find work with. I would not really even call that marketing. Okay, when you're reaching out, you're filling out paperwork, you're turning it in, and certainly there's some finesse that needs to happen with that. I guess maybe that part's a little bit marketing. Following up with your application, for example, continuing to follow up with your application, and did I mention follow up with your application until you actually start getting orders from that company. And then there's more marketing that goes into that, and that is reaching out and what I call touching that potential client. Okay, making sure that they hear from you regularly. If things slow down, are they hearing from you? Okay, if you're upset about something, are you in a professional manner giving them some feedback? Are you thanking them for the work? When was the last time you sent a, yes, do I dare say it, thank you letter to an AMC? Thank you for the work this year. Boy, I was looking at my end of the year progress, and I can't believe the amount of money that we did with you this year. Thank you. Thank you for helping me to pay my mortgage, to pay my car payment, and to feed my children. I dare say most of us have not done that in a very long time, but yet would we do that with another client, for example? Possibly, and possibly not, right? But this thing about marketing, people will come to my workshops, and one of their biggest desires, goals, visions is to do more non-lender work or do more work, period, right? Do more better paying, easier to work with clients. Now, that may or may not come in the form of non-lender clients. Right? It may come in the form of direct lender, and it may, let's be honest, come with some AMCs. But what I see is when I talk to appraisers, let's say I talk to 10 different appraisers and ask them the question, would you want to be doing more non-lender work? I would dare say 9 out of 10 would say yes. In fact, it would be an enthusiastic yes. But if I ask a follow-up question, what are you currently doing to get that work? I would dare say 9 out of 10, if they were honest, would say not much. Folks, it goes hand in hand. If you want to be diversified, if you want to do more non-lender work, it takes some marketing. I want to share with you 2 rules of marketing. And by the way, this can apply even to AMCs. It can apply to direct lending. It can apply to work with attorneys, with realtors, with homeowners directly, with other appraisers and referrals. The 2 rules, the fundamental rules that I'm going to share with you today will, if you take them to heart, if you start to utilize them, I promise you, this is a solemn promise, will transform your marketing services. I want to pause here and remind you about a couple of companies that will transform the way that you do business. One of them, of course, is DataMaster. Now, DataMaster is not in all areas. I was asked today, actually, I was on what we call the monthly meeting with the coach this morning, and this is where my all-star team and I come together for a live interactive meeting. And we were talking about distribution of work, and we were specifically talking about what I have some of my virtual assistants do. And I was getting very, very specific about what they do. And we talked about comp input, and somebody raised their hand we're on video chat, and raised their hand, and I turned on their audio, and they said, well, Dustin, I thought you used DataMaster. I listened to your podcast. And the answer is, I do, where I can. Unfortunately, DataMaster is not in the main areas that I do business in. And so as a consequence, I've got to enter those things, or at least have someone in my office enter those things by hand. But folks, if you want to save 30 to 60 minutes, let's just average it out, 45 minutes per report, if DataMaster is in your area, and by the way, you can find out by going right now to datamasterusa.com and figure it out. Just click on your area and see if they are in your area. Folks, if they are, what are you waiting for? datamasterusa.com, datamasterusa.com. A la Mode, of course, is saving me time every single day that I use it because of its internal tools. We're talking about the mobile app. We're talking about the ability to be able to separate your addendum from your report. We're talking about the comps database. We're talking about the smart adjuster. We're talking about the side-by-side view. We're talking about the ability to be able to scroll through the entire report right to left or left to right, rather than just up and down. We're talking about the ability to be able to go out and do mobile, to be able to do your sketch, to be able to put the photos and the labels and everything that you need on page 1. Folks, the tools go on and on and on. Check it out. Go to alamode.com for more information. Or you can pick up the phone, folks. They still answer their phone. You can talk to a live person, not a robot, but a person, at 800-ALAMODE. Finally, we're sponsored today by Working RE Magazine. About twice a week, I get an email from Working RE Magazine. Folks, I'm telling you, it's good stuff, right? Every once in a while, you're going to get an advertisement. Even that's good stuff because it has to do with appraising. But if it's something you're already using, you're already aware of, you're not really interested in, no problem. Just hit archive, hit delete, move on. But at least once a week, you're going to get some really good information about what's going on in the appraisal world. Why do you care, Dustin? Why do I care? Why? I just want to do my AMC work and move on, right? Well, folks, if you want to know what's going on in your profession because you care about your profession, Working RE is where it's at. Check them out. Go to workingre.com. That's Working RE as in workingrealestate.com. Welcome back, folks. We are talking today about marketing, something that appraisers don't really talk too much about. Let's just be honest. We, as a profession, don't do much marketing. On the other hand, I know a handful of appraisers across the country that do a great deal of marketing, and this is not going to come as a surprise to you, but I will share it with you anyway. They're doing quite a bit of non-lender work. Folks, what's the point? It pays off. Yes, it's going to cost some money, right? You're going to have to do some printing. You're going to have to do some website design. We're going to have to do some social media stuff. It's going to take you some time, right? I know some of you are saying, well, Dustin, what does the money have to, why did you say that when it comes to social media? Well, because do you want to do all of that yourself? Do you want to outsource that? Either way is fine. It's just a matter of what you decide and where you want to spend your time and your energy. But the bottom line is if you want to do more non-lender work, I don't think it's possible to do a whole lot more, maybe a little bit, But if you really want to focus on non-lender work as an appraiser, you're going to have to do some marketing. That means you're going to have to spend some time, and I'm talking about a significant amount of time, right? At least 5 to 10 hours per week on marketing, and you're going to have to spend some money. Now, I know most appraisers that are spending some time and money on social media and other forms of marketing that we will talk here in just a few minutes about. And I'm telling you, folks, they're not spending an insignificant amount. They're getting results, but we're talking $1,000, $1,500 a month that they're spending just on marketing to keep that ball rolling. Now, everyone that I can think of off the top of my head, and I've got an avatar in my mind right now, right? You know who you are. He has done very, very well with his non-lender marketing. He spends about $700 per month, right? Just on the social media side or on the website, SEO, and everything else. But the point is he spends the time and energy because when he's asked, do you want to be doing more non-lender work? The answer is yes. And when he is asked, what are you doing about it? He actually has an answer to that question. All right, folks, now that we have set the stage, and let's say you're still with me, okay, you haven't dozed off at this point. By the way, if you're driving, I really hope you haven't dozed off at this point. Let's talk about marketing, and let's talk about the two fundamental rules of marketing, okay? If you learn nothing else, listen for the next 10 seconds. You ready? Be known, rule number 1. Rule number 2, be known as the expert. That's it. Be known as the expert. All right, Dustin, what does that mean? It seems easy and it seems obvious. Let's break it down for just a little bit, okay? The first thing you've got to know, when you are in a service-based industry, and really this is in any industry, but we're talking service-based. Specifically, we're going to talk about real estate appraisers right now, okay? When you are in a service-based industry, you need to be known. I know individuals who have spent thousands of dollars on websites, for example, and then did no search engine optimization, did no SEO. Well, guess what happens, folks? You got a really fancy website that nobody sees. In other words, it takes a fancy website, yes. And I'm not talking about an extravagant website. I'm talking about a website that gives you information, that has some video, that has some interaction, that's easy to know what the next step is. When someone goes to your website, for example, do they know what you want them to do? I mean, this is fundamental marketing 101. If someone goes to your website, they need to know very clearly what is the next step for them to take. Now, they may not take that step, but they need to know what it is that you are asking them to do. There's nothing more infuriating than going to a website and going, okay, great, now what? Your potential customer should not be asking, now what? Okay? Now, I don't want to get too off in the weeds when it comes to websites. I'm just using that as an example. It's great to spend all that money and effort and time and energy building up your website, but if you're doing zero SEO, when someone searches for appraiser in Cincinnati, guess what's not going to come up? That's right, your fancy new $1,000 website. You can spend all the time, money, and energy you want on that website, but if you don't do any SEO, you will not fulfill rule number 1. That is, be known. But it's not just about websites, and it's not just about social media. Now, certainly social media is part of it. Being out there and about and in the community and helping individuals. I belong to several community pages on Facebook. Now, these are not appraisal pages per se. These are simply community pages, right? Where people can come together and talk about what's going on in the world, specifically their community. Now, on a regular basis, I try very hard to be of help there. And this is not manipulative. This isn't me trying to get a quid pro quo. It's not me a tit for tat. Hey, I'll help you, but you better, shoot some money my way when you need an appraisal. That's certainly not. In fact, folks, let's just be honest. Any individual is going to see through that so quickly, it'll make your head spin. And by the way, you will lose credibility very, very quickly, which we're going to circle back to in just a second. But are you truly being of help? Are you giving value to people out there? Right? When somebody gets on your local page and says, hey, thinking about going to the farmer's market this weekend, who's been there recently? What's there? and jumping on and saying, hey, my family and I went there last week. It's super awesome. Check out this booth, right? I have nothing to gain other than to help and to give value to someone else. Now, the funny thing is every once in a while, something will come up on those pages that has to do with, yes, real estate or the local market or what values are doing, or yes, even the appraisal process. Well, it's my pleasure then to jump in. It's even better when somebody else calls you out, right? Well, why don't you ask? And they tag Dustin Harris. He's an appraiser, and people recognize my name because I'm active in that community board, and not just when they need appraisal stuff answered, right? In other words, get out there and get your name known. But we're not just talking, of course, about online presence. We're also talking about other ability to be able to get your name in front of other people. One of the great ways to do that is to get your name in front of people at a realtor's meeting. Folks, real estate agents on a regular basis have meetings, right? Staff meetings, group meetings, lunch and learns. Are you volunteering for those spots? By the way, they're always looking for someone to talk to them, right? Think about it this way. If you're running a business and you have a meeting on a monthly or let's say bi-monthly basis, you're going to run out of things to say. And it's great to have somebody come in for 15 minutes and share whatever it is about the appraisal process. Okay, and we've talked on this microphone before about how to make a good speech in front of a realtor office or an agent's meeting. Okay, so I'm not going to go over that too much. But the point is, are you getting yourself in front of those people? Are you doing lawyer lunches? Okay, another thing I bring up in my Go Create Some Value workshop, where you put together 5 or 6 local attorneys. You take them for a very nice lunch, okay? I'm talking $15 a plate lunch, and treat them well and share with them something interesting that will help them to be a better attorney. Not just a promotion for you, not just an infomercial. That's not what we're talking about. Hey, hire me. I paid for your burger. No, we're talking about giving them free food and free information. That gets you in front of them and that gets you known. But it's also about follow-up. It's the touches that we talked about earlier. Touches are an email, a phone call, a personal visit, okay? Any opportunity that you have to say, hey, I'm here. I want to do whatever I can for you. I want to be of value to you in your life. That's what it means to be known. Rule number 2, be known as the expert. Well, Dustin, isn't it the same thing? It's not the same thing. Let me give you an example. There was a local plumbing company. And I would dare say that if you asked, 5 people today in my community in East Idaho, what is the company that comes to mind when you think about plumbing service? I would guess that this company would come up number 1 most of the time. Why is that? Well, they are on billboards, they're on local TV, they're on YouTube advertising, they're on Facebook advertising. I see their trucks driving all over the place. They have a snappy little motto, which I'm not going to share because I don't want to throw them under the bus here. But people recognize them. Let's put it that way. People recognize this company locally. I would dare say it's the most popular company out there when it comes to plumbing. It just is. Now, let's take that one step further. I would dare say if you asked 5 people who you would recommend as a plumber locally, that would be the number 1 company you would not recommend. Now, folks, I have had not personal experience with this company, but at least 3 friends use this company, and all 3 of them tell me the same story. That they came in, there was a problem, and this company made it into a mountain. Okay, there's a molehill, there's a small leak, and the next thing you know, there's a bigger problem and a bigger problem and a bigger problem. Their business model, I dare say, at least the rumors are, to charge you an arm and a leg for something that should not be a big deal. Now, I can tell you, even 2 weeks ago, my assistant reached out to me and said, hey, do you have any recommendations? We got a plumbing problem. And I said, I can't really think of a company right off the top of my head, but I'll tell you one not to go to. And of course, this company is the company that I told her not to go to. There's an example, folks, of being known and not being known as the expert. It's a twofold thing. You've got to be known. Your name has got to be out there. You've got to be popular, but you need to be known as the expert or some company that is trusted, that you can stand before people and they say, you know what, that's an honest person. That's a person with integrity. That's a person that I can trust. My friend used that appraiser, and he treated them well. He has a great bedside manner, if you want to use a medical term, right? This guy walks through a house, is professional, took his shoes off, talked to me, educated me through the process. Maybe I didn't agree with his value, but at least he took the time to help me understand what it was that I was buying as a client. That's being known, and that is being known as the expert. My friends, as we close up today, I want you to ask yourself a serious question. In fact, I want you to ask 3 questions. Okay? Question number 1. Do you want to be doing more work and specifically more diversified work? Maybe it's not non-lender work. Maybe it's direct lender work. Maybe it's more AMC work. These principles apply no matter what. So the question is, right now, if I asked you, do you want to increase the volume that you are doing? If the answer is yes, question number 2, what are you doing about it? And question number 3, are you known? And 3A, are you known as the expert? If not, why not? Folks, if you want to learn more about these 2 principles and other marketing ideas, including taking you step by step how to set up and execute a lawyer lunch, I hope that you'll go to my website, check out the products. There is a course that is called, ready for this? Go Create Some Value. I recommend that you take that course. It is over 10 hours of video, education, and downloadables that will help you to better your life as a real estate appraiser. It's at theappraisercoach.com. One more time, theappraisercoach.com.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
I would dare say it is the most known or most popular, sorry, editor, back up.